TA66 said, can we talk about Trent's potential move to Real Madrid? Needs a new contract very quickly. Need to keep him. He's the future of our club. Of course we can, my friend. We can absolutely talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold's situation. In fact, I have it in my notes here somewhere. 1 second. I'm getting a bit concerned about Trent's situation as well, because what seems to be spoken about openly quite a bit now is that Trent's going to hang on. Trent's going to see how competitive and how good Liverpool are under Arne Slot before making a decision about his future. Now, from a purely personal perspective, I can understand that. I can see logic to what Trent is saying, but it doesn't help us and it doesn't make us any less worried. Because let's say Trent decides that, well, it isn't quite as good as I was hoping for under Arne Slot. He's off for free then, and there's nothing we can do about that. And if he does decide that he'd like to stay, which would be good news, you're going to have to back that up with a record-breaking offer. Probably Mohamed Salah type money. So my big problem with the whole Trent situation, and to be fair to the Echo, I have seen them start to question this a little bit, is how did it get to this point? How do we allow him to get here? Where our situation now is, we have another Michael Owen, Steve McManaman situation where one of our players runs down a deal and heads off to Madrid. And that's what they want to do. You've seen the reports from Spain, they want to sign him on a free next year. So what we can't allow to happen is Trent to dictate that situation. It's not a comfortable situation to discuss. It's not an easy situation to sit here and say, but you got to start playing hardball. How many people are we going to let walk out the exit door for free? And at the same time, be told that we can only spend what we generate. Well, then one easy way to try and generate more money is, of course, to sell players and get some money for them. The idea of losing Trent for free, a homegrown talent, a vice captain, it sickens me. So it's either overpay, which we're going to have to do now to get him to stay, or he leaves. But we can't let him leave for free. A decision on Trent has to be made this summer. On the Mohamed Salah situation, look, I would rather he was sold to receive some money, but at least I can look at it, as I've said before, and think he's 32. If he sees out his contract at Liverpool, Liverpool have had the best years of Mo's career and he's 33. And maybe Liverpool could look at it, as David Lynch said, and feel like they've gotten value of the service Mo has given the club, the initial transfer fee, and what they've laid out. But with Trent, though, that doesn't add up, does it? You can't look at the age profile. He was a homegrown talent. It could be all profit, which would be very, very helpful in the transfer window. And I don't want to lose Trent, but I also don't want the club to be held over a barrel like Marcus Rashford did to United. And we've seen how that worked out. So, can we survive without Trent? Yes, but I prefer him to be here. But we cannot let it go in past the end of this window. We just can't. It's just too foolish, too risky. And to say that letting Trent do that is better than losing him now, I would disagree. I would say getting some money in from now if he wants to move is the way to go. But again, he could dig his heels in and say, look lads, I'm not signing a new deal now. I told you I want to wait and see. And then Liverpool have to play hardball, unfortunately. And I don't say that lightly. So yeah, it's difficult. And I've said it for a long time, I don't understand how we got here. Whatever you think about the owners, however highly you regard Edwards and Hughes, that this situation has been allowed to happen it's just, I can't believe it. Like, I don't have words to describe the level of stupidity allowing this to happen. Does anyone have a number for the people that convinced Stevie to stay asking for a friend? All jokes, but I'm hoping for Zubamendi, 50 million, said Jack Dempsey. So I remember a funny story actually about the Gerrard situation. Rick Parry said something like, the biggest mistake Chelsea made was letting Steven Gerrard off Roman Abramovich's yacht, because then he was back amongst friends, family, and people got in his ear. And people were telling him, you know, don't go to Chelsea because it won't feel the same. The one big difference, Jack, that I've always found with the Trent situation is there won't be any FOMO. Because Gerrard, you could say, what if he won a league title with Liverpool? Wouldn't that be worth so much more than going to Mourinho's Chelsea and winning a couple? Trent's done it. And that doesn't get spoken about enough. Trent has won everything at Liverpool. He doesn't have the fear of missing out. He knows what it feels like. Albeit it was a COVID season, they didn't celebrate it the way they would have liked to. but he knows what it feels like to wear a Premier League winners medal. He knows what it feels like to have a Champions League winning medal. And I'm sure when he looks back in his career, he's going to want more of them. And if Liverpool aren't shown the ambition to match the ambition of these players, that's a worrying sign as well. So there's a lot of these things for me that don't make sense other than the owners are cheap. And that's what it comes back to me. That's what it boils down to. The owners that aren't even really back in their own hometown club over in Boston, their fans are unhappy. Owners that are in expansion mode, going by the Pittsburgh Penguins, looking to bring in more football teams. One of the things we've always credited FSG for was the brain trust, the cleverness. Well, that gets spread thin when you start buying more and more franchises, more and more clubs. The intelligent people have a bit more to do then. They're spread a bit more thin. And they can only do what they're allowed to do. So yes, I'm concerned. And the Stevie situation, as I said, was a bit different because he didn't win a league. Trent has that feeling. He's got that in his memory bank. He's got the pictures to hang on the wall. He remembers what it's like. What annoys me is that VVD is clear he wants to be at Liverpool, shown in the media, where Trent has said F all about the fans who support him. It's difficult to read silence. It's difficult to gauge silence because you start to invent what you think he's thinking, right? And it's natural, it's normal. So I've tried to stay away from trying to figure out what Trent is or isn't thinking because I don't know. But I do know that if he really wanted to stay, he could end the speculation quite quickly with, I'm focused on renewing with Liverpool. But somebody is briefing the media because somebody is saying to the journalists that Trent wants to have a look at this season with Arne Slot. So who could that be? It isn't going to be the club. So it has to be somebody from his side, if they're true. And if they weren't true, I would expect it to have been spoken about by now. I would expect a James Pearce or a Paul Joyce or David Ornstein to say absolutely not the case. Trent's fully focused on Liverpool, but nobody has. Look, I think if we're being honest with ourselves, we have to admit the appeal of Madrid. Now, of course, we also have to admit that Trent's a local boy, and I'm sure it's pulling on his heartstrings. And I don't know how this pans out, but what I know is, and I feel really confident in saying this, it has to be resolved before the window closes. It has to be. You can't let Trent go into the window when the window's closed, not having signed a new deal. Because he could sign for Real Madrid on a pre-contract in January and there's nothing we can do about it. It is too dangerous a game, and you're going to end up spending more money in the longer run. Maybe Trent doesn't want to stay. I'm open to that possibility, Andrew. Then you sell his ass. You know, and if he says, I'm not going anywhere, then you say, okie dokie, see that seat over there on the bench? That's yours. We're going to put 66 on that, and that's where you're going to be sitting for the season. And let's see if Real Madrid still wants you in a year when you haven't got match fitness and you aren't sharp. Same way Yoro was told that by Lille. And are we really going to say that we're not a big enough club to do what Lille did to their young talented player? Either agree the move to United, or somebody who's agreed the fee we want, or you sit in the bench for 12 months and then you can go to join Real Madrid or do what you want. That's the situation. Offer Trent the deal. If Trent doesn't like the deal or has any doubts about signing it, I think you've got your answer. What I think is absolute horseshit is this belief that Trent just wants a year just to see if Arne Slot can do it or not, if he's good enough or not. If he's really thinking that, and again, I don't know, if he is, that's an indication that he's off. Unless he's saying 100% staying, let's get it sorted, let's get to the number, this is my home. Anything else and it's on the bench or sold. As harsh as it sounds, that has to be the answer. The club are in limbo over Trent. Defo has had his head turned. And that was the danger, Andrew, of not sorting it out. You know? A player and his agent are always going to look after themselves. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But let's look at this. You're Trent and his agent, and you see that the manager that you love is leaving. You find that out in February time. Jurgen announces he's going. Then you've got a ready-made excuse as to why you don't sign the new contract right then. Because you want to see who the new manager is, right? That's your excuse. Now, what does that also do? That also means your contract runs down. So then we announce Arne Slot, and still no contract for Trent. So then he goes away to the Euros. He's away at the Euros. He's got Bellingham in his ear. Real Madrid declare their interest. They've made some communication to Trent's camp. And now all of a sudden he's 11 months to go. And we're hearing he just wants to see if Arne Slot is going to be competitive before he makes a decision. Really? We're believing that? We're falling for that shit? No. It's again just increasing the leverage, increasing where the power in the negotiation sits. And it's bullshit.